Like Dave just said, my name's Kaylor Smith. I graduated in 2022 from the journalism school and got my start working with Ben at KOMU. I'm speaking here today on behalf of myself and my former students that came back today, many of whom are a few years into our careers now, so we're really grateful you guys picked the time, especially during football season, that we all could be here to honor Ben. I want to start by wishing my deepest condolences to the Arnets and to Nicole and Lila. Lila, you were the first person that I thought of when I learned what happened. Your dad loved having you as his hockey buddy, and he loved doing that with you and loved when you pick up the sport yourself. Which reminds me, I have a question that I know Ben would want asked. We have some high-ranking folks here in the room. Can we get a damn ice rink in this town? I mean, seriously, can we put our heads together and get that going for Ben in his honor? But in all seriousness, Lila, I hope you continue to enjoy the Blues, Cardinals, and Bills just like your dad. And to Nicole and the entire Arnet family, I hope you know how deeply Ben was loved by all of us and what he meant to all of us. I'm going to share some of that now. I first met Ben shortly after he was hired at KOMU. I started doing Friday Night Fever, just like hundreds of young, aspiring journalists do, including Ben 20 years ago, by the way. A true son and a product of the J School himself, Ben was the perfect person to be the predecessor to Chris Gervino because he got it. He understood the process because he lived it, and he made it his mission to pass that along to the next generations of dedicated young journalists. Ben taught us what it means to cover local sports, and his passion was contagious, and if you've talked to him, you know exactly what I mean. He laid the foundation in so many of us for those few years we got to spend under his direction, from shooting highlights to anchoring to storytelling. Ben afforded myself and my fellow students so many opportunities that he could have just taken for himself, but he wanted us to have those experiences and learn through them. One of my favorite stories I did with Ben was covering Gary Pinkel's College Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony that they did at Shakespeare's here in town. I spent hours at the station with Ben, who's a true historian of Mizzou and Mizzou sports, especially during the Gary Pinkel era, crafting a story that would capture what Pinkel meant to this university because nobody knew it better than Ben. He helped me, he encouraged me every step of the way, and it's funny because when I look back at that story now, I watch it and there's so many things I would do so differently, but he just really let me go for it. The job Ben did as a teacher is evident by how many of his former students not only landed sports jobs right out of school, but are still in the field today, some even on their second and third career moves. One of my favorite stories about Ben came at graduation of 2022, and my seniors of that class will know this one. There's a big map of the United States hanging in the sports office at KOMU with the names of alumni and arrow labels pointing to where they all landed jobs out of school. Back then, that map hadn't been updated in years, and our senior class really took issue with that. We wanted to bring it back and revive it and add our names to it, and we would talk about it every so often in the sports office throughout the school year. Fast forward to May of 2022, Ben held his annual end-of-year celebration at the Arnet House, where Nicole and Ben graciously opened their home to dozens of college kids and feed us, so thank you for that. Ben gathered us all seniors and gave us a speech about none other than Gary Pinkel. Ben worked closely with Pinkel for years when he was in the creative department at Mizzou Athletics. Ben told us one thing he learned from Pinkel was the importance of listening to your players. Pinkel would say, some things may not be important to me, but if they're important to my players, they're important to me. And then Ben went into the other room and brought back that KOMU sports map, which he had gotten framed. And he said, I never saw this as something important to me, but I know it's important to you, so it's important to me. Which brought tears to several of our eyes because Ben's not much of a softie. So then we all spent some time talking about it, and we stuck our own little arrow labels with our own names on the map and took a big group photo with Ben and the map. And that's what made him special. He listened to us, and what mattered to us mattered to him. Ben and I grew pretty close during my time at KOMU, just sort of naturally, as we spent a lot of time working side by side in that tiny sports office, which I hadn't been back to in 3 years, and I didn't realize how tiny it actually is. Going back a couple weeks ago, I couldn't believe how small it felt. Didn't feel small in the moment, though. We shared a lot of the same philosophies and values professionally, and Ben was just a very real person and very easy to talk to. I came to understand just how close we were when I decided it would be a good idea to invite him to my 21st birthday party. And he accepted. It sounds weird, but I promise it wasn't. It was Mizzou's home opener in 2021. I invited him and the family out to the very fine establishment we all know as Shiloh Bar and Grill. It really, though, it was cool. It was cool. My parents were there, my grandparents, my friends' parents, and now that I say this out loud, I don't think he would appreciate me grouping him in with the old folks. But really, it meant a lot to me to have the people I love meet this person that I really looked up to and respected. But really, who brings a 6-year-old to a 21st birthday party? All kidding aside, I think those stories just show how much he really did care about his kids, and there was no one I was more excited to tell about landing my first job after graduation. Ben and I stayed in close contact, and our relationship evolved from mentor-mentee to friends. We talked daily, if not every other day, for the last 3 years about anything from our gripes to Mizzou football, coach if you're watching, sorry, to our work woes, to Lila's latest hockey game, to my love life. Yikes. My last messages to Ben were along those lines. Not knowing something had happened yet that day, I texted Ben during Mizzou's home opener this year, quote, "I'm over the Tommy Trumpet third down." Some nice parting words from me. And I think I speak for a lot of people in the room when I say that, yes? Yes, we're over the Tommy Trumpet third down. But I think that just sums up the nature of our conversations. Ben supported me through a difficult job search that took more than a year. I started to doubt myself and if I was really cut out for this, but Ben never did. Ben always reassured me that something would work out, and I was so excited to tell him when that offer finally came through for my current role in Dayton, Ohio. I actually just went back through our messages recently and found what he said when I told him, and he said it was the best news he's heard in a long time. No one knew me, my ability, or my worth as a journalist better than Ben. He's the first person I think to reach out to when I have a new experience at work. In fact, there have been so many times in the last month that I've felt the same instinct to do just that. I think I speak for my fellow classmates when I say we never thought there would be a day that we wouldn't have Ben's guidance as we navigated through this difficult industry. The person who gave every single one of us a chance is not here to help us through that next step anymore. His current students, I know a lot of them are here today as well. I hate it for all of you guys that you don't have him to learn from. I don't say this to discount anybody else, but I truly believe Ben was the most invaluable figure at KOMU and in the J School. I quite literally would not be where I am today without him. And I hope to spend the rest of my career doing what he taught me and doing it in his honor. Although it pales in comparison to his friends and family, there is a hole in my heart where Ben left it. The teacher, the mentor, and the friend. Thank you for everything, Ben. I owe all of my success to you. We love you, we miss you, and I will never forget you.